I've been running this D&D campaign for a while now, and I've really loved learning more about this incredible game. I've been feeling it's about time that the party got the answers to the big questions about this world, and maybe come towards the conclusion of the campaign. But I don't want to stop playing with the party, so I want to start thinking about a new campaign. This campaign that's coming to a close was based on a lot of basic things I understood about D&D, and I was still learning how to build a compelling narrative to play with. Granted, I learned pretty early on that asking for character motivation early was fine, but didn't make the whole story. In the first town, I created an encounter to establish the coming conflict between the druids and the dwarven king. They didn't really get a chance to define who they were during that conflict because it kind of pushed this central narrative I was going for forward in the narrative before they had a chance to properly express themselves. The issue, I think, was that they had introductions and an initial goal, but I didn't give them hooks to get them into the main conflict of the world. Instead, I made the main conflict a thing that would get in their way. Background world stuff that only matters when their problems get big enough to confront with that stuff. So for this next campaign, I want the motivation and the world building to come hand in hand with the characters. They will decide where they go and what they see because they will be on a path of conquest. Commanding armies of devils and taking secret task forces into enemy camps as they fight for the glory of Kel'Zatore. Now this sounds like putting the party on rails, but with this plot there's a lot of different roleplay decisions that will change things. You're a lieutenant, but what do you think of your other lieutenants? How do you treat your underlings? What do you really think of Kel'Zatore? When the war council is held, do you have a lot of things to say, or do you clam up when others are deciding the right moves to make? Suddenly your bounds, ideas and flaws begin to affect a lot more of the environment you're in. Like for example, if you command underlings poorly, they may be less effective in battles and could revolt. From the very beginning, decisions are going to be obviously important because you have huge responsibilities to consider. And whether or not your character actually wants to rule the world, your role is always clear. Expand the territory and defeat the enemy. This way, the PCs have the initiative on where the session is headed, but don't necessarily know what is coming next. And playing as villains means the expectations are a little bit different. Your big bad could be the bravest heroes of the realm. Or they could just be a stepping stone for you to earn the trust of Kel'Zatore before you stab him in the back and take his throne. This whole premise will work, I think, because it's enough inspiration for the character backstories that no one is confused about what their motivations might be. Everyone will have a good time thinking about their favourite villains and what sort of amalgamation of tropes they'll want to use in roleplay. I'll probably start this campaign at 3rd level because whilst lieutenants are powerful, they mostly command and don't do a lot of face-to-face battling. Likely the PCs will want to show off their abilities in a very villainous fashion. This also allows for siege mechanics to enter into the game. How do they strategize for all-out war? Do they develop arcane technology to gain advantage? Do they summon up armies of undead to lay waste to their enemies? Perhaps they'll attempt to disguise themselves and spy on the enemy to discover who they are and what their weak points are. And along with this, you can incorporate their class features into these huge combats, give them special units that can use multiple spell slots, or make them choose from larger infantries of soldiers and special units like warlocks and knights. This idea has a lot of potential to make a really exciting campaign. If my players are into it, I look forward to finding out how they will fare under the devilish command of Kel'Zatore.